Okay, so we're ready to get started, but before we start, I think we have something to address. This meeting was scheduled as a public meeting until 12 o'clock, so I think we need to make a motion to extend the meeting. Is there a motion to extend?
I'll make a motion to extend the meeting time.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so now we can continue.
Hi, I would like to introduce Dr. Tamaya to the board, and if we could start the process. Oh, sorry.
Could not hear you, sorry. Dr. Tamanga, good morning
Good
and
morning.
welcome. Thank you for your time. Could you take a few minutes to introduce yourself to the board and GMX?
Sure. I want to thank you first for this opportunity. I kind of prepared something because I want to give you a feel for who I am, what I've accomplished, why I think I'd be a great executive director for GMX. I don't want you to think that I'm New York centric. You know, you're going to hear New York a couple of times, and this is about Florida, not about New York, but my experiences kind of reflect some of the things that might be important to you as well. So, Chairperson Mariani, distinguished board members at GMX, Fatima, Rodolfo, Richard, and Stacy, thank you again, and I'm glad you extended the meeting by an hour for me. A special thank you to Human Resources Michelle Hedges for her guidance, and thank you again for this opportunity. I would be remiss if I didn't say and recognize the outstanding work of Tori, who has put bylaws together for you and has got you through to this point. And with a good foundation, I know that we can move forward. And I had about an hour and a half with Roger Leonard, and he's delightful. And we had a great conversation. And the one thing that I have to say is we're all very similar in backgrounds, and it's a testament to the knowledge, skills, and the abilities, I think, that you need for this job. And I am really humbled by the fact that out of 199 people, we're down to these three. So thank you. In considering us, you have a difficult decision to make. But I'm fortunate, and if I am fortunate to be chosen, I will work with this entire team of professionals at GMX, your entire staff, finance, procurement, across the board. I've done that already. Most important, I look forward to serving the residents of South Florida. I'm committed to working professionally, compassionately, and diligently for everyone in Miami, Dade, and Monroe counties. I'm presenting myself today with a deep understanding of the challenges and the opportunities in the 21st century in transportation. Public policy, politics, management and retention of human resources, the development of technology, and how we move people around, and by the way, to one of the most congested and one of the most developing places in the nation, is something that I am really ready to tackle. I understand that the work that you often do as a board is unrecognized and is very demanding. And it's very clear right from the beginning, you'll hear some of my experiences, I work for you. You set the policy, and I make that policy become a reality and get the buy-in from residents and from businesses and from the community. The business acumen I bring, along with the organizational skills as a public policy director, leave me ready to lead GMX for you. I'm enthusiastic about the potential to leverage my years of experience and dedication in the public sector in order to elevate GMX. And I've kind of gone through in my political antennae telling me there are certain things that go on and certain things that we still need to resolve. And I believe that I can help with all of that as well. I'm ready to take on this challenge, and I'm well versed in the intricacies and complexities of working in the public domain. I was elected for 18 years. I understand that if I speak about New York, again, I said this, it's just my experiences. It's where they are. And I think that more important than my experiences, what I'm hoping to demonstrate is It's about the person in the position and their ability to recognize and respond to problems. And that's what we do here. We take challenges and opportunities and we go forward. And I've done everything from emergency response, hurricanes, accidents, community planning of bikeways, which I know was something that was on the list of things that might be in the future with the Kendall Parkway or Expressway. And so we start out in transportation by number one. Number one concern, always safety. To provide safe, reliable, affordable, and convenient transportation for people who are here, who live here, who work here, who visit here. And then second to that, second to safety, and an urgent companion is equity. So on equity, I have to steal a phrase from FTA administrator. She used this last year at a conference, and I had spoken to her about it as well, and she's wonderful. Her name is Nuria Fernandez. And Nuria says, equity must be our North Star. My dissertation work, recently completed, focused on equity, focused on ethics, focused on public policy, and focused on values-based leadership. That's me, that's who I am. I studied it for 7 years. And when setting public policy, it's crucial to align all of those values with environmental health, public health, community engagement, and environmental justice. And as a former elected official, and I was proud to be elected as the youngest, it was a long time ago, I represented a district that was quite diverse, and while Putnam County is strong red, my district was deep blue. And so it's not about politics, but what it becomes about is creating coalitions. I learned how to work with everybody and gain support based on involving the community in the decisions. My experience then, and even now in the planning department in Putnam County as director, include working with census tracts, socioeconomic and demographic impacts of transportation enhancements, equitable investments, working through the second largest MPO. Again, I'm a part of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council as a voting member. We see billions of dollars, and I compete with MTA, New York City Transit, Long Island, and the region. It's important to sit at the table and develop those partnerships. That's what it's all about. There's never been and never will be in my entire, whenever I make a decision, a whiff of anything that could go awry. There's too many scandals out there, and there are too many things when people get into jobs or positions of being an executive director at this high level, that things sometimes just appear inappropriate, and they're not. But at every level, I raise that bar to the very highest, because what I realize is that any impropriety, even a question of it, damages this organization. It is important to be able to manage perceptions and realities, and the realities of the knowledge necessary to succeed as your executive director is all wrapped into public policy. So I can bring experience of implementing your policy in transportation planning, the land use planning we talked about, all the environmental planning, NEPA, financial management, economic development, bonding and debt restructuring. As a former legislator, it starts with us and a resolution that would come from a board to go through a whole process of, does it make sense? How do we better finance, and how do we accomplish more with less money? Additionally, I aim to stay ahead of the curve in the emerging world of AI, so important right now for transportation, so important. To assist with traffic monitoring, and I had my experience here over the past couple of days. It's a challenge, and as with anything else, it's important that we need to always focus on good internal controls as we look at it, approach it with caution, and be conservative with it. But I guess as they say, you know, trust but verify, always. And so when we're implementing technologies, it's important. And technology could help us become more efficient so that we could invest more of the toll dollars that we collect in better roads and better technology. If I look at the extensive outreach that I've done in and through the technology community, working with people like VIA and SPARE and some of the APC, automatic passenger counter, and other things that we can certainly take advantage of now. I think it's important to have somebody that might have those relationships, and I have. I've had the many years of it, and one thing that I want to say in my procurement, whenever I go out for technology or for a contract or for anything, my procurements have never been a single offerer. Because you need to be out there, when I say you, we do, me, at conferences saying, hey, do you know what we're going to be doing in Miami-Dade next year? We're going to do this kind of project, and I really need you to bid on it. Or with technology, bring people in. I want to learn more about this. How is it that we can approach these things? And so now understanding that and looking at the challenges that you've had a little bit, if I could kind of switch tracks, you've faced several huge challenges here in recent years. And I think I understand some of them. I could have this all wrong. I'm sure you'll teach me what I've got right and what I've got wrong here. But first of all, it's evident that east-west travel in Florida is no good anywhere. I mean, from top to bottom, it's hard to get around. And it's just a matter of statement. And I think what we have here is you've had some issues with, you know, taking over and recreating this whole GMX from MDX and where we are today. So how great that with a fresh look now, we can kind of move forward. Toll management was an issue, and there was a backlash against MDX over doubling the tolls. And I think this whole South Florida Saves is tremendous. When you take a look at what a great step forward for SunPass to allow the estimated 200,000 customers or clients that you have who take more than 40 trips to get a 20% discount. That's real. That helps families today. State versus local control is another issue. And I, by the way, worked for Governor Pataki when he was governor, so I understand the whole hierarchy and how things really work. And I look at this, and it's a little sensitive, so don't get upset with me if I got this wrong. But a legal battle, and I've done many hours of research looking at every newspaper I could find on this, so this is where I'm getting, this is my background on this, right? So a legal battle ensued over the control of toll roads between South Florida and Miami-Dade. I worked, my job was county, by the way, so I was county legislator, right? The state, and for a lot of good reasons, I understand, okay? The state regained control and created GMX to oversee MDX. MDX contested. A fresh approach, my idea, with a compassionate style, should be able to build bridges figuratively and metaphorically with Miami-Dade County. So as a former county legislator, I might be able to have a frank conversation and might be able to bring people along. That would be my hope. So it's time to put people first, is the point. The last thing that the public wants is disputes, particularly when you take a look at how great the momentum was being built for the Kendall Expressway 10 or 12 years ago, I think. And we kind of, you know, have a great vision, and then how do we make it reality? That's our job. It's my job. Set the policy. It's my job to bring that to reality. And I know Mayor Jimenez, who's now congressman at the time, anyway, the mayor, fully supported the measure. Well, if we're going to go about it again, I think we have to reignite, re-look, and figure out. Of course, I know you can do anything if you have money, but when the time is right, we should be prepared on that. I saw legislation compliance, and again, MDX did not comply. And more important than anything, and this is what it's all about, it's about the quality of life for the residents of Southern Florida. It's traffic and congestion, which I can't believe. In my world, I'll give you what happens to me in Putnam County. If I have a bus that pulls out of the Croton Falls train station 5 minutes late, I will have an irate mother or father call me, telling me that I am neglecting them of time with their children. That's 5 minutes. We need to include, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but we need to go back again and find out how we can better use technology. I saw you have ramp lights in on some of the roadways here. They would be meant to, that would be meant to, of course, control the flow of traffic, right? So why not figure out how to incorporate these things so that we could move people more efficiently through the region? Anyway, the point is, I have experience in managing these networks, and I understand the importance of aligning what the public wants with what we need to do, and to use technology to help offset that. So I know you use all toll money to fund everything that you do, but there's such great opportunities. There's a NOFO that's out, SMART grant due on July 12th. We still have time. And it would be a federal grant that would propose using algorithms for transportation efficiency as part of a competitive grant. The grant aims to improve safety and reliability in systems. It's just great for the local population. So as I close, I want to say that partnerships are really what's vital. I have experience working across various agencies, cultivating partnerships, done it in the past, and I'm more than willing to do it here and get to work for you here in the future. I'm dedicated to public service, I'm dedicated to transportation, and no, transportation is not boring. It's anything but. It can be very exciting and we can be very creative. It's about community engagement, and I'm excited about the prospect of contributing to vibrant communities of South Florida. And I want you to know I'm loyal, honest, and dedicated, and I'll work very hard for you.
Thank you, Doctor, for your opening comments. Could you provide an example from your professional background where you successfully led a team through a substantial period of organizational and culture change? What was the outcome? Based on that experience, how would you approach culture changes differently in the future?
Sure. So I currently still serve as president, director of the board for the Constitution Island Association, CIA. Constitution Island Association is a museum, small home of the Warner sisters on Constitution Island. It's owned by West Point Military Academy, and the Warner sisters in 1915 left Constitution Island the interior contents of the home. You want to talk about culture shifts. We have a board, if we go back to 2010, 2011, that decided that, the Constitution Island, again owned by the United States Military Academy, they didn't like the way the Academy was dealing with Constitution Island. We were only guests on the island. Ended up contacting Roger Ailes and a whole host of problems with newspaper articles, and basically the nonprofit that was there for almost 100 years was thrown off the island. We dissolved the board, basically, at that point. Very similar, very parallel, right, to what you're doing here, right? So I get a call from George and Libby Pataki, and they asked me if I would take on becoming vice chair of the Constitution Island Association and try to build a new board and new relationships with the military academy who had just thrown us off. Since We got a great board together. We had $8 million in funding from the superintendent and the garrison commander at West Point to restore the Warner House. Virtual tour online, just a plug if you want to see it. It's beautiful. But we took a board that had no relationship with the leadership and was basically displaced. And we rebuilt not only the relationship, but then they reinvested in us. And we work hand in glove today as an organization. That's success based on building trust. And that's where it all starts.
Thank you. What strategies would you implement to ensure that the agency's vision and mission are integrated into its day-to-day operations?
Well, I think, again, I talked a little bit about, are you familiar with all the acronyms? Because there's so many out there. But TSMO, TSA, all of that stuff that's there right now, ITS. Those are things that are really important for us to consider. And as we're building, because the thing that's so exciting about working here now at GMX is you're just starting, we're gonna start building, we're gonna start recognizing new opportunities, maybe new roadways, and how to improve what we have. But how to take what's out there in the way of being able to control our facilities, even things for road safety. To create a geofence around a place where you might have some construction going on and have workers wear a tag so that we can inform people about what's going on before you get to a detour like I did yesterday. And I was in the middle of a neighborhood and I had no idea where I was, and there were workers all over. And the other thing that I think is, and yes, we do need to work, and it's your direction and your board, and however you decide we need to move forward. But it seems to me that we need to work cooperatively. We need to kind of work with each other so that people don't realize when they get on our toll road that then they're in the middle of a mess, that we should be able to integrate messaging to people so that people could get around in a smart way without just using Waze, but that there's warnings. And that's also a huge safety issue when you don't know where you're going and you're trying to bob and weave and duck, right, to get to a place faster. So I think that's that's kind of low-hanging fruit. And I think that as I look right now, and I know it's the decision of how you fund things right now, but we have not invested in highway infrastructure the way that we are today since before I was born, since Eisenhower. There is an opportunity right now for us to take a look at where the funding is, where the partners are, and how to do what we need to do as this continues to be one of the hottest areas to live and to visit.
Thank you. How do you ensure effective communication and collaboration between the board and the management team?
Well, I've been on both sides, so I've been the board, and I've been with now as director. It's really, communication is never easy. It is about building that trust first and foremost, and then it's routine. I'll give you a good example. So when I became chairman of the legislature, I had been at odds with the county executive for almost my whole term. And now I become chairman of the legislature, right? So not a partisan thing, but I just had a difference of opinion. I was creative. I wanted to see things move faster, and he was very ultra-conservative. And so one of the things that I realized was his style was to he was very analytical, and he wanted to be able to think about things. First of all, never any surprises. You never want any surprises. You always want the truth. Those are the most two valuable things that you could have between a board and between an executive directorship. But what I started to do was I started to create something that I called a Monday morning memo as the chairman of the legislature. And what I decided was the things that were the hot topics for the week, we're going to go here, And I would say, dear County Executive Bondi, these are the 5 things that I'm hoping that we could address this week, right? And we went from not talking to going out to lunch together. And we ended up understanding a lot more about what we were each trying to accomplish when there weren't those barriers. But I think that communication in the way of emails, in the way of memos, in the way of follow-up, in the way of how we're represented, in the way of, the executive director is here to serve the board, but to serve the public, to keep the public involved and aware, so that the public comes to you eventually and says, boy, you guys are really doing a great job. Why? Because they've read something about it. They've seen it in the newspaper. There's some social media stuff that's going out, right? Whatever it is. It's endless, the number of different opportunities that we have today for communication. And I think the secret to this success is making time for it and not just getting wrapped up in doing what the day-to-day operations are, but taking the time to stop and think, who did I need to contact and what do I need to do to make sure that everybody's aware of what's going on?
What measures would you take to ensure that GMX maintains a positive public image?
It's a campaign. Everything's a campaign, right? I mean, so I think I talked a lot about it. I think, look, what you did with your tolling here is phenomenal, right? It's great. And I think we need to make a bigger deal about it, and we need to get more people on board. The more people we get on board, the more people are going to be using the toll roads, the more revenue we have. It's like a circle. But I think the other thing is I think we could do a lot more with social media, for sure. And developing good, strong campaigns. And then the other thing that we don't talk about, we talk about congestion and limiting congestion and quality of life. Those are things that resonate with people. Maybe a new bikeway, right? We've done hundreds of miles of bikeway back in Putnam County, and they're so well used, and families love it because it's not only for the people who are driving, creating our problems, right? But the local community really gets that. But we don't talk about the impacts on the carbon footprint or climate change. You've already addressed a lot of that, and the more people that we get moving faster, the more responsible we are environmentally as well, right? So these are all campaigns, right? I'm talking about a series of different approaches that we could have. And there should almost be, at the beginning of the year, again, I don't want you to think that, oh my God, this guy's crazy. Forget it. He's got all these ideas, right? These are your ideas. So however I can help you develop these. But maybe in the beginning of a year, in the beginning of the year, we come up with a campaign theme every month for something that's significant, that impacts quality of life for the people here, right? And I mean, just an idea, but there's a lot of opportunity. I don't know how much staff is here. But IT and social media is really important, and even somebody who could address some of this part-time, it goes such a long way and captures so many people.
Thank you. Could you elaborate on your experiences in developing relationships with the community, partner agencies, and elected officials?
Sure. All right, I love this. So I was I'm aging myself, right? But going back to Bill Clinton's White House, we worked on an initiative called the American Heritage Rivers Initiative. You may have heard of it here in Florida, because 14 of us worked together. St. John's was one of the rivers. And there was a navigator assigned to each, appointed to each of the rivers. So from the Hanalei River to the Hudson River, the Great St. John's River, which is the only river that flows in its opposite direction right? We got to talk about not only our rivers, but we got to bring real federal resources to the local communities. Opportunities to the local communities for those federal resources, grassroots, for economic development, for natural resource protection, and for celebrating the culture and the history. You can imagine that's different on the Hanalei River as it is from the Hudson River, as it is from the Mississippi River. Well, we reached over 150 million people across 14 rivers. And so you talk about creating the partnerships. Then we worked with our congressional delegations, which you have a lot of power in your congressional delegations, okay? You have a good number in your Republican caucus, you have a good number of Democrats, and everybody wants to hear about good public policy. One of the things that we did, and one of the things that I learned, I got to DC at least once a quarter to talk to the chairs of the committees that were important to the work that I was doing, and to make sure that the delegation, my New York delegation, which at the time was 4 more members than we have today because people are all retiring to Florida. You've gained seats and we've lost seats, right? But it's important. And then to take this message and to also be then the conduit to state, to bring the state partners to realize, okay, well, we have these federal opportunities. What do you have in the way of state opportunities? Reach out to the county as well, and make sure that we're all coordinated in whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish.
How do you motivate employees to reach their full potential?
By caring. There's not a day that I don't go, when I get there, very first thing, into everybody's space and touch them in some way. How are you? Is everything good? Is there anything that I need to help you with today? There's nothing like that. There's nothing like, and it can't be a put on. It has to be, are you sincere about it or not, right? They know, people can read through it, right? And then to always try to be a mentor. Look, I'm not just looking for people who are in positions today, but I'm looking for how do we allow people to grow? What can I do to help them excel? Sometimes I'd even reallocate somebody who would be bored in a position to give something that's more challenging. Because in today's world, people are going to leave if they're not fulfilled. And so how is it that we make people feel whole? How do we help them with their work-life balance? It's all connected. How do we make them feel important and excited? And everybody is important. The least job. We did a transition in my facility about 8 years ago, and brand new contractor coming in, and the newspapers came in and they wanted to know how it was going in the middle of the transition. So they decided to go up to a mechanic that was changing tires or cleaning rims or something. And they asked him, what is it that you're doing and why do you do what you do? And the culture that we had built, and everybody really believed this. The culture that we built was, I'm doing this because I know we need to get people to dialysis and they need this transportation. It wasn't that he was changing a tire. It wasn't that he was a mechanic. He was part of a greater thing, which is, that thing is moving people, I think he said grandma to dialysis, right? And I think, I walked through the doors here today for the very first time. What a great place to start to develop a family, a family of workers, a family. I have people who are working with me for 20 years already and who have been with the county for 30 years. But we want it, and that's done by caring. And that's how I started this. So I think that's the most important piece of it all.
Thank you. What do you consider to be the most important strategic priorities for our agency over the next 3 years?
Get your money. You have a lot of revenue that you should be collecting and should be transferred into your coffers from the county. We have to raise your rating. Triple B plus should be much more than that. And if you took on all the debt, but you didn't get all the revenue, I noticed. I think that that's right. So I think once that happens, that'll be a natural. And then, not right now, but I think we need to look at what your bonding is exactly, how things look. With right now, again, this is in Putnam County, we're not bonding. Rates are too high. But as GMX's bond rating goes up and interest rates come down, you might want to relook at things. And again, that's strictly a decision between your Commissioner of Finance and you who set policy. But I think that that's probably front and center. I think, again, I've talked a lot in my opening comments. I don't want to be redundant. But I think I think the other thing is to get the county back. We have to work with everybody has to kind of work. I think you have 3 board members that have to come on. That'll certainly help at some point. And I think just to kind of build trust between all partners. I know you have a lot of partners out there. And then the other really big thing is going to be public outreach and community outreach, public communication. And what really becomes important, and this is kind of no secret, but if you build support for the projects or for an idea in a community, you're going to have your back, and they're going to make sure that everybody else comes along. So it really just can't be our idea at GMX. It's your idea to set the policy, and then we need to bring it out, and we need to have it become, this is what the community wants. It's their idea.
Could you describe a challenging situation in which you led your team and how you applied your leadership skills to achieve the desired outcomes?
I gave you the West Point example. Look, I lead the team in so many different ways. One of the things that at the time was not something that was popular only because it was unknown was a rebid of our largest contract for operations in Putnam County, representing about $5 million for the operator. We had one contractor at the time. We were going to switch to another contractor. I wrote the RFP, worked with procurement on the process. We switched the whole thing. So when I got there to the transit division, we had a parts house. We were paying everything T&M for repairs. We couldn't tracking invoices, spark plugs, tires were flying out the back door. It was not good. So my idea with the RFP was to sit down and to figure out a per mile cost for everything. That would include maintenance, the driver, operations, dispatch, all of that. And we did. And we saved a ton of money. I got tremendous pushback from the executive at the time and also from the legislature. As it turned out, the good part of the story is that the project was April 1st, 2014, its first year. In March of 2019, we were paying the same amount of money that we were paying in 2014 for running the system. So, I mean, again, it's not. It wasn't just me. It was the team that were able to put this all together. But it was convincing the team to do something different. People don't like different. People like to do things the same, right? And sometimes we need to challenge ourselves to do things just a little bit different. And one of the things that I would like to have in the way of a relationship with you all is I may come up with, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Or would you mind if I did research on this? And those things, when you come back, see, everybody thinks that transportation is just, okay, so you just have to open the highways and let the wheels roll. No, that's not. That's why we get into trouble. What we need to do is we need to, in advance, forecast. What is it that we're going to need? How is it that we can accomplish those things, right? So, look, I didn't get to talk much about it, but again, so many different ideas. To be able to use AI as well for helping forecast maintenance and state of good repair on our infrastructure. You know, right now I'm doing something with an intern for the summer, and I'm taking all of the catch basins in Putnam County because in New York we have a stormwater MS4 regulation that we all need to follow, and one of those require, okay, so what's the maintenance of your catch basins? Well, it's good to have well-maintained catch basins because then your swells operate right, and then you don't have people flooded, right? So I'm using Cartograph, and I have a young intern that's going out, and he's going to geolocate all of those places. Those are the kinds of technologies that could help us with our infrastructure, right? So, because we should know when was the last time that catch basin was maintained, right down to the catch basin. And if you take care of those little things, when you have a big storm or a hurricane, you're in good shape.
What would your priorities in the first 30 days as executive director of GMX?
Get to know everybody. Sit down, learn, listen, talk. Make sure that there's nothing critical. Take my marching orders from you all. You give me a checklist, these are the things, and I have to make sure that I gain the confidence of everybody that's in this building. I have to work with the entire team, with your finance director or commissioner of finance director here, procurement, HR. There's a team of people and professionals that you have here. They come before me, and I need to learn a lot about what, I know what you do, but how they do what you need to have done.
Thank you. Could you expand a little bit on your expertise in tolling?
Limited. So I know what I know. I know the RFI, technology. I know that, congestion pricing is something that's big in New York. Putnam doesn't have tolling, but I sit at the board with NIMTIC, and there's a lot of tolling. I don't know that, this congestion management pricing thing that's happening in New York is the panacea that everybody thinks it's going to be. But again, I could learn that very quickly. It's very straightforward.
How would you improve the performance of our facilities while reducing operating costs?
It would start with an assessment. I'd have to see what you have in order to really be intelligent about answering it. But I think that there's a lot of opportunities. As I look at, something like the new Kendall Parkway or Expressway, there's such great opportunities if you look at that building that was designed there to make that also a point of coordination and communication for transit services maybe in the region. So that what I was talking about earlier in the way of county roads, state roads, federal roads, our toll roads, that everybody is kind of communicating and talking to each other, and more important, talking to the public.
Okay. I believe we may have a question from a board member.
Doctor, thank you for coming in. Appreciate your enthusiasm and your energy. Can you provide examples of your interaction with the financial markets, rating agencies, and/or your involvement with a public financing event?
Well, it starts out so we use Moody's, you use Fitch. It's all the same. Look, as a legislator and as the chairman of the legislature, I was on the one side where we would pass the bond resolutions. I would look at the bond resolutions, how the bonds were packaged, and how they went out. After that, it's sales, okay? Commissioners, finance in the county deals with it all. And like magic, it all happens, right? You have to be very careful when you go to bond, that you're within the parameters that you should be. That if you say you're going to spend the money, that you're going to spend the money. Those are the things that I worry about as an executive director, and those are the things that I think that we need to worry about as a board. As far as finance goes, we're a $160 million budget in Putnam County, and I looked at every single penny and every single budget line. That's what I do, and that's how I do it. I ask questions, and I lead asking questions, actually. It's a good place to be, especially in finance. And I always trust the people who are smarter than I, bond counsel, the CPAs, and the finance people. You're only as good as the advice that you get. And again, if you have people that you trust, and we did, we are in such great shape financially in Putnam County. And it's about being conservative, too. I mean, I understand why you wanted to wait on the $1 billion. Well, you couldn't, but even now, it's because timing is everything, right? And so it's not just so finance, and the world of finance is about timing. Okay, are you making the investment at the right time, right? So, and I don't know if I answered all of your finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions from any board members? No. Thank you, Doctor, for answering our questions. We just want to give you a few minutes for any closing remarks that you may have.
I think I did an awful lot of speaking, and I want to again just say thank you so much. I know that brevity is important, and I would never want to keep you at a board meeting longer than you have to be. So again, you know, one of the things that I have to say is, and this is not about any name dropping or anything like that, but in my reference package, and I did work for a governor who also knows your governor, and if anybody ever needed to vouch for my loyal, honest, hardworking approach, and you needed reference, please let me know, because I take what I do very much to heart, very seriously. And as far as I go, like work balance, I don't understand that. Like, so work-life balance, because my work is my life. I love what I do. I wouldn't have changed any part of anything that I have ever done. And I think that this is the next best thing for me, which is why I'm so enthusiastic and excited about it. I really believe that we could bring, I like my political antennae up. I think that we could bring everybody together. I think that there's a great opportunity for us to work together. And there's a lot of information I have here. Today in transit, I could bore you to death right now, but you know, I got all of the reasons why everybody should be working together. I think that we need to have kind of the right face and the right approach, and the hard work, and with the right vision that you'll set to move us to a place that I think in 10 years we're going to be unbelievably proud of. You know, again, I hope that those new projects that I saw come to fruition. I would love to be and I have I didn't even talk about it, but I do have a lot of project management experience. I was a project manager. That's where I started. I understand concrete. I understand construction. I understand engineering. I understand working with DPW. All of that stuff is something that I want to bring. And for me, right now, this is an opportunity for everything that I have experienced throughout my career to come to work for something that's really exciting and to put to good use. So thank you. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Manga. Thank you for your time
Thank you,
being here
Doctor.
today.
Okay, so we have an issue of time right now that our vice chair, she's going to call right in. Are we going to proceed with the discussions right now, or, I think everybody has other commitments as well. I don't know if we should postpone, but if we postpone, it has to be in the next week. I don't know if we need to renotice it. I don't know the technicality of that. Yes, this is open for discussion.
Yeah, I think we should proceed.
I think based on the motion, there was going to be the vote ranking 1, 2, and 3
Yes.
for each of them. If anybody needs to leave, we've made arrangements for them to participate by phone for the rest of the meeting.
All right, okay. So just, you can leave your ranking of the 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. And give it, yeah, so that's what we're going to do now.
Yeah, if you can do,
provide that.
I
Okay.
think that was the consistent with the motion was the ranking and then the discussion to follow.
Okay.
Can we have another form?
Or just,
I wrote all over my form. Can I have a new form, please?
or X out the,
Quick photocopy.
Here's a blank one. Did anybody?
A blank one would be good, yeah. I think a blank one's coming here.
Yep, 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
mine.
1, 2, 3, right?
Yep.
Well, I'm not gonna vote for myself. For executive.
No.
Oh, it's crossed.
It's,
Oh, it's.
It's a matrix.
Oh,
there's a new document.
I put the number on the old one, too.
The number on the name, and that's it.
Yeah, that's what I did, too.
All right, anyway.
Any others?
we maintain quorum.
Yes.
yes.
And for the record, the vice chair is still in the building, and she's calling in to continue with our quorum. No, I gave one to Jason.
Oh, we maintain quorum
Yes.
even if she's off. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, are we filling out a general document or everybody's filling out?
No,
The-
one form.
One.
I gave, no, yep.
No, I'm missing one.
No, I didn't put my name on that either. I don't think it matters.
Now. And I think one quick public records reminder, personal notes that are not filed, that are not shared with anybody else are exempt from public records law. Anything you write that is filed or shared with anyone else in this process is a public record. So just keep that in mind.
Me? That is not consistent?
All right, are you ready for the tabulation?
Yes.
Okay, for Mr. Alston, he received a 5, was ranked number 1 by everyone, and Mr. Leonard received 13, and Mr. Tamagua 12.
Okay.
So the second one would be Dr. Tamagna and number
Correct.
3, Leonard. Okay. Okay, so we have, the entire board voted Mr. Alston as the first choice of all the candidates, which were all very good candidates with a lot of experience. So I would like to wait for our vice chair. Is she on the call?
Madam Vice Chair, are you on the line? Is the line open?
5 minutes.
Oof.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break until she's on the call. Okay. At 12:59, our vice chair is on the phone. Vice chair?
Madam Vice Chair, are you on the line? They were testing. Madam Vice Chair?
Yes, I'm on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to proceed now. with our discussion and approval of executive director candidate. So are we going to take a vote on the three candidates? We received the tabulation, but that is non-binding. Is there a motion for a selection?
Should we summarize for the vice chair? I don't know if she
Sure,
heard.
sure. No, why don't you go ahead, Member Blanco, since you're the chair of the search committee?
Do you have the document?
Let's see.
Yes. To repeat into the record, the tabulations, which are non-binding, with Mr. Alston being first for the position, Dr. Tamanga for second, and Mr. Leonard third.
Is there a motion? Then we can have discussions, or
I
So
move that
from
we
our
accept
pages-
the results of the tabulation and that we proceed to contract negotiation with Mr. Alston.
is there a second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion?
First and foremost, I want to thank the committee. They did a great job in making sure that we followed the statute, met the letter of the intent of what our charge was. I want to thank HR for going through 199 applications, getting us down to, I think, 3 excellent candidates. It was very interesting to hear their different perspectives. I think their enthusiasm for what we can accomplish as an agency was pretty evident, and I appreciate their professionalism. I do think, from my perspective, that Mr. Alston has done a great job for us in the past, and continues to, I think, have great opportunity to assist us in moving forward. That's not to say that the other candidates didn't come to the table with pros. I just think, given the circumstances and giving that the information that we received today, I do think moving forward with Mr. Alston is, I think, a great. I think it's advantageous for us, and I'll leave it at that. But I appreciated the process. I appreciated that we received applicants from all over the country. I think that was very indicative of how we advertised, what we put out there for the advertisement, and who we advertised through. So I'll just leave it at that.
I always like going behind, but after you, because you've said everything that I would say, and I totally agree. It's absolutely, it was a truly transparent and thorough process. I want to make sure that that's understood by the public. At the end of the day, the 3 candidates were excellent. Any of the 3 could have easily led this agency. For me, at the end of the day, it was an issue of Miami-Dade County and Monroe County in the South Florida area. It is a very complex area, as most areas are, but it's a very complex area. And Mr. Alston has that experience, that understanding from day one of the complexity of our area, the politics and everything else. And that for me was a very important intangible. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Firstly, thank you for the HR team, Michelle, and everything that was put together. I know that it's not easy, and it's not easy dealing with us and coordinating with us and getting information to us for these meetings. It's not an easy process. And yes, I'm gonna revoice the sentiment. I mean, it's one thing that we wanted to make sure we accomplished is that this is a very open, very public and process that we're doing, that everybody has complete, open access to, and see how we went about having this done. Particularly the national search and advertising everywhere we have. So we're very comfortable with the process that we follow for that. I will also voice the same as Board Member Page's. Absolutely, any one of these candidates could absolutely do the job. I believe that there's an extra benefit to the South Florida connection, the intricacies of dealing with different parties here in Miami-Dade County and Monroe County that I believe he brings to the table, especially with his history in dealing with such agencies in the past, which gives one step above. So that's why my choice is Mr. Alston.
Does the vice chair want to make any comments?
Yeah, I think you guys covered really all the points regarding the selection. Thank you to everyone that was involved, and certainly to those candidates that traveled from afar. And definitely looking forward now as we continue to, make this agency what it needs to be and what it will be. So I'm looking forward to continuing that under Mr. Alston's leadership, no doubt. Thank you.
So finally, yes, I would like to echo the same sentiments that the other board members have expressed here. A lot of gratitude to Michelle Hedges for doing a wonderful job, but also to the search committee, to our chair, Blanco, who led the search committee through various months. And thank you for saving us a lot of money also, and the executive search fees that we did not have to pay by following our internal search, which proved to be truly a national search reflected by 199 applicants. But it wasn't only the 3 final applicants. I believe it was down to 6. And our biggest concern is that 3 of them were so qualified that already got other positions. So that was one of the reasons that I really wanted to move forward quickly. And after meeting the candidates, I agreed that any one of them could do an excellent job. But the South Florida component, the Florida component, and the fact that for the last few years, Mr. Alston has done an incredible job for this agency, not only maintaining stability, but the way that he has been able to relate to local elected officials, to the community. He's shown so much leadership that I could not imagine finding someone that would do a better job than him at this point in time for our agency. So having said that, we have a motion on the table to move forward with Mr. Alston, offering him the position of permanent executive director and to commence contract negotiations. So are we going to vote on that? So all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. So congratulations to Mr. Alston. And now we have to delegate the authority to, I believe, the Executive Search Committee and Board Member Blanco to be in charge of the contract negotiations with Mr. Alston. Do you accept that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that is,
So move to appoint, I guess?
to the delegated authority.
Delegate authority
Delegate
to Board Member Blanco to negotiate with Mr. Alston.
Yeah, I think it's
That's right.
Search committee.
a search committee.
The
So
search committee.
the search committee through his leadership.
Or is
So
it-
it's
okay, is
through-
that how you want to do it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes, in conjunction with HR and
Yeah.
legal team, obviously.
Of
Yes.
course.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay.
perfect.
Then I amend my motion to that.
So amended. Second.
So all those in favor say aye.
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 And I think we have some housekeeping. We have to vote on the new board for the next fiscal year. So are there any motions?
Council, I don't know if this is all right, but can we move that we keep the current board structure for the upcoming year?
The officers.
Officers as is?
Yeah, we can, I believe, serve 2 consecutive terms.
Correct.
so we can serve one additional term in our current positions.
Okay. So, absolutely.
Do we have to go individually, or can we just say?
I think you
the
could make a motion
Yeah.
to have both the chair and vice chair continue for another year.
And treasurer,
And treasurer and
treasurer.
secretary. Yeah.
secretary,
The
yes.
slate of
slate, yeah.
current officers. Yes. So that's a motion to accept that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I just want to, I know we're not discussing, but,
Sure.
so the policy allows for that to occur for a 2-year term? Is that what we're saying?
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
So we only have one final item. Let's see. The next final item on the regular agenda is the approval of the updated board organization resolution to reflect the officers and executive director. So I believe that we can call Mr. Alston back in because he's still acting in the capacity of interim executive director. So this resolution actually says that the governing board appointed blank as permanent executive director, but we have not yet negotiated a contract, so I'm not sure if this resolution council is acceptable as is, or because we don't even know if he'll accept it. It's a last page, the resolution.
Last page of the agenda. It does say we've appointed.
You know what?
It says we appointed. I don't know if it's,
Where does it say?
right? As opposed to he's accepted or he's signed a contract. I don't know if that's
The governing board appointed. Yeah.
technicality or not.
I think you could pass this subject to adding to that sentence, subject to the negotiation of his contract. Appointed Tori Alston, subject to.
So just add in section 3, subject to,
Yes.
after his name?
Well, do we want to actually change, that's a board resolution that goes to the
Welcome
banks,
back, Mr. Alston.
right? That document goes to the bank.
Oh,
I
that's
know
right.
you've heard the good news that we have selected you as our permanent executive director. So here, a round of applause to Tori. And Board Member Blanco is has been appointed to lead the executive committee to negotiate a new contract with you for the permanent position. We're on the last item of the agenda.
Perhaps the best way to do this would be to approve execution of this resolution once the contract,
the contract.
is finalized.
Okay.
So we don't have to wait till the July 11th board meeting, but
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there a motion for approval of the updated board organization resolution after the completion of the contract negotiations with Mr. Alston?
yes, as is after the contract, executed as is after the contract has
Move to
been
approve.
finalized.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Well, moving on to any announcements. Our next board meeting is July 11th at 9 a.m. Board members, are there any questions, announcements, staff direction, or final comments from board members before we adjourn?
No.
I don't want to belabor the point. We've been here a very long time today. I think we did good work, excellent business. I appreciate, again, I just want to be clear that I appreciated this process. I know it is very deliberate in what we do, And that's for a very important reason, but I appreciate all of us being very active in that process, and I look forward to moving forward now that we can eventually drop the word interim from everything and just move on.
That's wonderful. Mr. Olson, any comments before we adjourn?
I'll be brief. To members of the board, search committee, thank you for this amazing opportunity. I think this was a great conversation. I appreciate your vote of confidence. I'm looking forward to working with you to move the agency forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy 4th of July, because we'll see each other July 11th.
Thank you. Hearing no additional comments, adjourn the meeting at 1:15 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, board members. This meeting's adjourned.